As you're joining, you're welcome to go ahead and click on the link that you find in the chat box. It'll take you to the materials that are going to be used this evening.
You're also welcome to type in the chat box your name and what division you're coming from if you want to introduce yourselves. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started since we're a couple minutes after 4. We welcome everybody today to our Implementing Rich Mathematical Tasks in the K-2 classroom. We're super happy to have Dr. Teresa Wills with us. I'm Kristen Williams from the Virginia Department of Education. I'm the Math and Special Ed Specialist. Deb Delosier is with me today. She's our Mathematics Specialist, and then our Mathematics Coordinator, Tina Mazzacane, will be joining momentarily. So there's the 3 of us at the Department of Ed on the math team. So we're really happy to have Dr. Wills here. She has been sharing some amazing information and resources and strategies on how to implement rich mathematical tasks virtually. She's a professor at George Mason University. She's had a lot of experience teaching mathematics online, I think more than 10 years, but she's had not only experience at the college level, but she's pretty much had experience with all grade levels. Somebody said they can't hear me. Can you hear me, Deb?
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you. It might be their sound on their computers.
Okay. She's had experience with all ages. And the most exciting thing is she's just recently written this book, Teaching Math at a Distance. That's going to be, I think you can actually order it now on the Corwin website. So we're super excited to introduce her and have her share the amazing strategies that she kind of has accumulated over the years. So Teresa, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy to be here. As Kristen mentioned, I've had experience teaching online now for 10 years. And I'm here today to show you some of the ways that I do things and hoping that you get a couple sweet, gems out of this that you can use in your classroom. So as you can see here on the first slide, I have my website, Twitter handle, YouTube channel. If you're looking for more resources, there's lots there. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a moment and give you the link to the slides and ask that you click that link and you get your own slideshow up. All right, I'm seeing quite a few people in now. Again, here's the link in the chat box. You'll need to use your own slideshow because this is a very interactive presentation. You're going to be moving, clicking, typing, talking the whole time. So you'll need access to the editable slides. All right, now our numbers are looking good. Let me go ahead and share my screen again for the recording. All right, on slide 2, these are 2 bookmarks for you where you can go for more resources. The first one is for templates. If you want templates so that, you don't have to start from scratch because teachers have a lot going on right now. These templates are ready to be drag and dropped right into your presentation, but it also gives you the ability to go in and edit them to make them work for you. So there's a whole bunch of different templates on here, many that are math specific. The second link is to my website where I host a free professional development every Saturday. So if you like this one, you want to, get your hands dirty with more rich tasks, explore them. I've got some on here, and it's just a group of math educators who want to practice it on Saturdays. So, and most recently, we had a task from the Virginia Department of Education in their Rich Task Bank. So that's available to you all as well. All right, let's see who we have here today. On slides 3 and 4, if you would insert a text box and let us know what successes or celebrations are happening in your lives. And if you're looking for the text box, it's above on that toolbar, and it looks like a little T with a box around it. That's what it looks like. And you're not limited to text boxes. If you prefer, you can show images of your puppy, kitty cat, grandbaby, whatever you like. You can share Bitmojis. You can share animated GIFs, whatever you like. And I'll ask a couple of you to turn on your microphones and elaborate a little bit more on what you had written there. And I especially love this one, teachers being flexible. If that was you, I invite you to turn on your mic and tell us a little bit about how that is so good in your life right now.
Sorry, that's me. I'm on my phone, so my text flipped. But really, our teachers, we're in Virginia Beach, and our teachers have been so flexible with just teaching both virtually and face-to-face, and kind of moving back and forth and adjusting to everything that's been going on. So we're just really proud of the work that they're doing here.
Oh, that's lovely. And I especially liked that you flipped yours upside down. That's actually in one of my classes, the younger kids would do that when they are feeling silly. So they would type it out and then they would flip it. And it was just such a great little personal connection to it.
It definitely
Wonderful.
wasn't on purpose.
And who said that teachers are using virtual manipulatives and children are loving them? How's it going?
That's me. I'm also from Virginia Beach. We have an enormous amount of teachers telling us that their kids are using virtual manipulatives. They're so accessible this year, and students are really loving them. So I know I speak for my division in saying that we have all been pushed to use these things, and we're better for it.
That's awesome. In terms of equity and access, that is one nice thing about online learning is you aren't restricted to maybe the 2 baggies of square tiles in your class. There is infinite amount out there. And so there is a learning curve of teaching it, but you can really have everyone being able to use it. And who's working on their sunroom today? If you do get your mic working, I invite you to turn it on and tell us. Another one on here, someone said my new house finally has a roof. So we went from sunroom to now roof. How's it going?
I just got my mic working. I was looking at what they were doing for the sunroom. This is Robin. We started this process back in April. And because of COVID, everything was delayed, but there's actually, my husband said it's a bobcat in their backyard, and I love power tools. And he's taking my daughter to dance shortly, and I'm going to sneak out there and see if the keys are in it.
Ooh, cool.
I think I want to play.
Fun times.
We'll see.
And who is starting the hybrid model, and you said smooth process and lots of support. How's it going?
That was me. It is going really well. Isle of Wight County Schools is in person with also a virtual option, and quite a few of our students have decided to come back. We have track A and track B, so kids are coming in the building twice a week. But we put a lot of mitigation procedures in place, and it's been a really smooth process. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Very cool. And there's, so many people who are interested in hybrid concurrent models. So much there. So thanks for sharing. All right, folks, this is called Successes and Celebrations. It doesn't matter what age my students are. I always have this up at the beginning of every class and the beginning of every PD. It builds a moment of community before we dive right in. And I know that you all as K-2 teachers know, how important it is to have community. But one thing I try to do here is make sure everybody has a voice, even if we're just typing our name to say, hey, call on me, and I'm practicing typing my name. Or they are writing phonetically right there on the screen. They can also add images. So, the kid who got a new dog or caught a fish on a fishing trip can showcase it there. Alrighty. Join me on slide 5 for our norms for success tonight. This session is highly interactive. You're going to be clicking, moving, talking, and typing the whole time. So put away all distractions. We are recording, so reduce any background noise. If you have questions, and I hope you do, you're going to write them on the very last slide in the presentation. It's called the virtual parking lot. And I do get to every question that is in here. That's my pledge to you. By writing it in there, you allow me the chance to expose that question as I had kind of planned in the lesson. And it also gives me time to respond to those when I have a moment of downtime. Alrighty. Have your mics on when you're in your small groups. Your words matter. So when we talk about children today, make sure you're using positive asset language. And mistakes are going to happen. If they do, no big deal. Just hit Control-Z. And practice being a Control-Z superhero. When you see someone else make a mistake, have a nice calm demeanor and just say, hey, just Control-Z it. Let's be safe by not driving. And I typically will turn off my video at this point. I say update your profile picture. That's something that's important to me for building community. And the rest of the session, you'll see has no camera on it. And part of that is to showcase how we can do some of this without the camera being on. All righty, let's dive right in. Our agenda is on slide 6. We're going to start off by being learners and giving yourself the freedom to enjoy mathematics as a learner and not have to think about the way you're going to do this with your students. Then we're going to do discourse as a learner. When we're finished, we will put on our teacher hats and we'll talk about how we do this with students. So give yourself that freedom tonight to have fun. You do not need to pretend like you are a K-2 student. Be the person you are with all the experiences you have. And slide 7, if you come down here, these are the 8 math teaching practices as described by NCTM in the Principles to Action. I personally find all these to be very powerful, but sometimes I have to be very purposeful in my planning to make sure I'm doing them. You will see every single one of these highlighted in the forefront today. And the last thing before we begin our task is on slide 8. Slide 8 is our problem-solving oath. I'm going to read it out loud. You read it to yourself. And if this is an oath that you pledge today, you can type your name in the chat box. I, Teresa, promise to try my best. I will make sense of patterns and numbers. I will use manipulatives and drawings. I will make mistakes. I will ask questions. I will listen to other ideas. I will stay engaged by always trying to find another solution or representation. I am a problem solver. I make the world a better place. If you'd like to pledge this tonight, type your name in Zoom in the chat box. Look at all those problem solvers we have today. Oh, that's how I know we are ready to jump in. Our task is on slide 9. The task is, how can they be equal? And again, this comes out of the Virginia Department of Education's Rich Task Bank. And it says first graders were working with the numbers 1 through 9. Emma chose 2 numbers and added them. Mike chose 2 numbers and subtracted them. They both ended with the same amount. What number could Emma and Mike have used? To solve this problem, I've supplied some virtual manipulatives on slide 10. These are just suggestions. I've done a little bit of the legwork in picking ones that I think will make a lot of sense with this problem. And it's your choice to use these if you like. In a moment, we'll each be placed in a breakout room. And if you see the slides below, they will identify what group they're for. And each group has 3 slides with some different things on them. The first slide's just blank for you to put as many representations as possible. The second slide shows some different movable cards and operations in an equal sign. And the third one has a hand balance. So feel free to check those out. And your job now is to give us as many representations to show the solution to this problem. I'm going to set up breakout rooms now. All right, we're going to automatically go in them. All right, your breakout room is open. Once you click what room to go into, you can head down to that slide. To ensure that they know how to do it without licking the wall as they walk down. The same thing needs to happen here. We need to give them the explicit practice, the protocols of, okay, class, we need to go back and practice this again so that they can feel successful. So it's not necessarily super quick, but it is a life skill that they will forever use. So take a look at those and then join me on slide 29. Slide 29 is the formula that I'm using now in order to have the math discussion. Ahead of time, I have already anticipated different ways that you could solve the problem, different misconceptions, different technology tools that you could use, and the tech support that might need to be done. While you are working, you heard me come in and out of your breakout room. Sometimes I am supplying support for classroom management, such as tech tools. Other times I'm asking you more about why did you choose to do one thing over another? But I'm listening, observing, and identifying some strategies that I want to go over during our math talk. The third and fourth step happened. I selected a couple of these representations and I sequenced them in the order in which I'd like to go over them in class. And now we're going to do our math discussion where I try to connect the different student work with the overall mathematical objective. So let's see how that rolls. I'm going to begin on slide 30. And to make things easier, I'm going to use the arrows here just so that we can talk about the orange model, the green model, and the blue model. So those arrows will let us know what model we're talking about. If you were the author of the orange model, would you tell us what your model means and how it helped you to solve the problem?
So I am the author of this one, and I started with 5 Unifix cubes. And since I knew that the answer had to be the same and I needed to take away 3, I took the pencil tool and I crossed off the 3 that I was going to take away, and that would leave me with only 2 of my blocks. And then
Wonderful.
show the addition statement, I had my 1 red plus 1 black, and that gave me 2 blocks.
And Alicia, this is a beautiful model. How do you know that these two are equivalent?
Because I have them similar in size, so I know that if I put them side by side, they have the same amount together.
Same amount together. I'm going to use a bright yellow kind of oval here. And I'm going to invite you to take these 2 ovals that I just made and put them on the resulting thing that you said, like, it was the same size. Like, what is the same size? What am I looking at?
Okay. Let me go to my slide. Sorry, I have to go to my slides because I was looking at your screen.
Oh, don't worry. You never have to apologize for being amazing at tech and moving between tabs.
So here we go.
Ah, so that's where I'm looking for my answer. Wonderful. And I can now really see the 2 different sizes. Thank you so much for sharing. And for everybody else, I'm going to have you type in the chat box. So your question for the chat box is, how do I see the addition in what Alicia just circled as the answer? How do I see the addition there? What do your eyes do? What does it tell your brain? Type your thinking in the chat. How do you see the addition? So Alicia mentioned that her subtraction was seen with the little white X's. And many of our learners are saying addition is by color. How about the author of the blue arrow? If that was you, I invite you to turn on your microphone. How can we use your model to see the answer? What is the answer here? So if we do have the author of the blue model, I do invite you to turn on your mic. If for some reason there's a tech issue or you don't want to turn it on, that's fine. I'll just ask another question.
Oh, that was me. I actually changed my picture because I changed it so that it had two yellows and 1 blue when I thought that 0 was not a number, 1 through 9.
Ah, all right. So here's the cool thing about online learning. I can grab rough draft thinking. So if you're still thinking about it, I can grab that right away. So let's go with this one here. And let's say all rules are gone. You can have whatever you like. How do I see the answer in your solution?
Like the orange model, I crossed off to show the subtraction, I crossed off the red Unifix cube to get 4, take away 1, and have 3 left. And then for my addition model, this picture shows 3 and what ends up being 0. So 3 plus 0 to equal 3.
Wonderful. Bonnie, thanks so much for sharing with us and giving us an opportunity to think of 0. I invite you to take those 2 golden colored ovals and put them on your model so it's similar to Alicia's. And while Bonnie's doing that, how about the author of the green arrow? If that was you or you think it was you, I know many of you did these. Go ahead and turn on your mic and tell us how you solved it. This was group 1.
I'm sorry, what slide are you on?
I'm on slide 30.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for group 1, we decided to use the tens frames with the number representation and the word on top. So we just started first with subtraction. 5 minus 3 equals 2, which is what you're pointing at right now. And then for addition, we just went for the simple 1 plus 1 equals 2, so that you could see our answers both matched at the tens frame at the final answer.
And when you knew that 5 minus 3 is 2, what were some of the steps that your brain kind of maybe thought to do in order to start your addition? Did you guess and check? Did your brain do something else?
I actually looked at the 2 and I realized I could just split it right down the middle. And so then I saw 1 on one side, 1 in the other box. And then I knew that if I put them together, that would add up to 2 as well for my addition problem. So I just looked at the 2 dots and I split it in 2.
Rachel, I love how you described that. I'm going to invite the rest of the group to try to rephrase that big thinking there. What did Rachel do with the green arrow that Alicia also did with the orange arrow? If you would like to respond, go ahead and turn on your microphone. I'll see it on. You can just start chatting. What did Rachel do in the green arrow that Alicia also did in the orange arrow?
They decomposed 2 into 1 plus 1.
Right. So we've seen this 2, and this 2 is just kind of broken apart, decomposed into the 1 and the 1. If anyone else makes connections between the orange arrow and the green arrow, you're welcome to put those in the chat box. I have a couple of the representations I want to check in on. And they're on slide 31. Slide 31, again, similarly, we'll use these colored arrows. I think that helps us out to talk about them. I want everyone to take a look real quick. How does the group show addition, and how does the group show subtraction in these 3 different problems?
Well, for the addition, they showed different colors.
So they all have a similarity, and that addition is multiple colors. Wonderful. What's different about the 3?
The subtraction, how they showed it, is slightly different. So in 2, they used the process of crossing off the green arrow frame and the purple arrow frame. But in the actual blue, where the orange arrow is for the blue, they actually show 1 outside of the cup. so that it's been removed from the scale. So it actually has been taken out. So you visually see that it's outside.
Ah, wonderful. And so we can still see that starting point, like how many we had to begin with and where they went. And all three of these models really do a great job of showing all three numbers in our number sentence. So I invite people, there are 6 text boxes on here waiting for you to create a number sentence. Just double click in one of them and start typing. We have 6 of them to be filled. Go ahead and grab one and fill it out. Awesome. And now we have this co-constructed knowledge, this kind of benchmark of what our class is doing here. Let's see if we can transition this to a different model. On slide 32, this group has a really big 5. What is the 5? If you're the author of this, could you tell us a little bit?
The 5 is my solution for the addition sentence and for my subtraction sentence.
Oh, I see. Okay. So I would like to make sense of something here. Earlier, Alicia's model. Whoops, never mind. Give me just 1 minute here. We had one of these models earlier. This is, I think, Alicia's or Rachel's. What would that look like on this number line if we made it with cubes? Does anyone think they know what this model would look like with cubes? And could you turn on your mic and try and describe that for us?
You mentioned with a previous person that you caught them in mid-thinking. I think I must have done some mid-thinking there. My green bar is not as long as it needs to be, because, I mean, as far as visually seeing that the two are equivalent, because I was, or that they land in the same spot, just because of the way I was using the number line, because I'm still trying to figure that tool out.
Yeah, well, you've got some really big thinking here. We'll do this as a class to see if we can kind of make sense of it. But what you were mentioning, the number line maybe isn't as long as it needs to be, but that's a powerful model now, because now you're showing me that we can create number lines that don't have all the numbers right there, and it can still support us to see our answers. So I'm going to make some blocks here. If you think you can see a connection, change the color of them. It's all right. You're anonymous right now. And then I might ask you to share why you changed the colors of the things that you did. How can we turn this into the block model? All right, if you colored green and purple, can you tell us your thinking?
So my thinking is if it's 3 plus 2 and the sum is 5, if you had the 3 green blocks, which would be your first movement on the number line, plus 2 purple blocks, which would be what you added to the 3 you had, you'd end up with a sum of 5.
Ah, yes. So 3 plus 2 is 5. And part of it could be that the numbers are really tiny there. But what is the expression that they wrote inside of that green bar? Can we see that? It says 2 plus 3.
So I'll do editing.
Oh, yay. And Alicia, the neat thing is that your solution is right. And now you're being flexible to change your solution to now match somebody else's model. Kudos to you. Anyone think they're up for the 9 minus 4? How are we going to show that? Think about what the other groups had done when they had bar models. That one's tricky. And anyone is welcome to turn on their mics now and say kind of, what part are we doing here? How is this making sense? And our 9 minus 4 subtraction, we could look back at the pan balance to see ways people showed subtraction. We could look at slide 30 to see ways people showed subtraction. Ah, somebody's got green and gray. Ooh, and someone else is adding X's. So at this point, we're working with the kids to be flexible between the number line, which is quite an abstract model here, and moving it into seeing the comparison with their cubes. If you wrote the X's, would you turn on your mic and just tell us what you were thinking about those X's?
Just thinking that you would get rid of them like they did in the other models. They would mark them out. That would be a way to do that.
So just like the other models marked them out, you did that there. Lovely. Now I can see the connection between the two. And to get the X's, it's under the equation. I put a screenshot in. All right, we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep on with the rigor here. On slide 33, we have several equation pairs put together. And I'm curious if you can understand the two other equation pairs. Feel free to add an equation to our list. We've got 3 done, and we have 2 more that need to be written out. If you were the author of the one that is our gray arrow here, would you tell us what you were thinking in terms of color and space?
So I think that was us. And actually it didn't come out. It didn't show up on here because we had crossed out 2 of the chips on the all yellow 10 frame.
Which 2 did you cross out?
We crossed out the bottom 2.
The bottom 2. All right. And then what would be the pair of equations that you would write with these 2?
So the first one would be 3 plus 2 equals 5. And the second one would be 7 minus 2 equals 5.
Thank you so much for sharing. If someone wants to type in our equation for slide on the bottom one for slide 33, what I'd love to get to is one final virtual manipulative that might be really neat. After kids are really exploring these pairs of equations, we can give them access to the one on slide 34, which is kind of a first chance for them to explore like what calculators are and how to use these different little buttons in it. And it'll start to give us a whole bunch of possible solutions. And the best part about this is the equation is in between the two expressions. So it's not like, 3 plus 2, ta-da, is 5. It's no, 2 plus 3 is the same as 7 minus 2. And so this can be really powerful to get as many pairs as we can. All right, folks, shake it out. You did great. Some of the topics of the discussion that I wanted to talk about are on slide 35, and we hit many of these. And we're going to take a 5-minute working break on slide 36. I have 2 links on slide 36. This is the video bank of rich tasks and also the link to this particular task. And in the next 5 minutes, look around, peruse, find something you've never seen before, or find something that maybe you knew was once there, but it's been a while since you've looked at it, and get reacquainted with these 2 documents. We'll come back at 5:11. All right, folks, welcome back. I hope you found a new gem in those documents. The VDOE has done an amazing job of putting those together, and I hear that more are coming. So let's jump into kind of with our teacher hats on now. How do we get kids to do this, and why would we want them to do this? I'm on slide 37 or 38. You could go to either one. Find any available text box and double click it. And answer the question, what opportunities were available today because of the technology? And I'll ask a couple of you to share out loud. I'll give you some notification that I'm going to call on you by changing the color of your text box. Our first one in yellow, would you elaborate a little bit more on how this happened to you today?
Yes, I will. Sorry. For me, it's the opportunity to spend some time exploring the different manipulatives and how they work, to actually kind of, so to speak, get your hands on them, even if it's in the virtual environment, to make sense of the math myself through that exploration and model my thinking to kind of show you how I would use those tools.
Wow, so many great opportunities. Thank you for sharing. How about the person with the green text box? Wait, how did you do this today? You say variety of ways to ask deep thinking questions.
And I was really focused on the rich task that you had put while we were on our break, and I love the fact that they broke it down to ways to ask advanced and just those deeper thinking questions. I really enjoyed looking at that and seeing the variety that's available to us. I thought that's wonderful.
Yeah, and as we are becoming better questioners, those can really support us in taking a little bit of the extra planning off our plate, looking at those and realizing this is a great guide to get started. And the more that we use those guides, the better our questioning becomes. Great. Somebody had also mentioned in bright blue here, collaborating and building off of others' good ideas. How did you experience that today?
When we were in our breakout room, I had at least one experience, multiple experiences of someone else saying, they were going to do something on their slide. And so I did it on my slide too. And that was a really great way to share ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bonnie, I couldn't remember if you were a part of this group, but on slides 26, 27, and 28, this group started with a pan balance. And when one person got started, it was like another person had another idea. So they just duplicated their slides and they could show all these different ideas without actually, what the kids would say, messing up my work. They were able to preserve someone else's work and just make a duplicate. So we have this infinite space.
Yeah, that was my group, and it was very awesome.
Wonderful. All right, folks. So there are some opportunities here. A lot of them were in the representations and the manipulatives and the things that the kids can do on the screen. And this is an example of, when I've been working with kids for a little while with Google Docs, so that they can feel comfortable doing all these things. But you might be asking, how do you take a task and turn it into a task that you can do online? So I'd like to share with you the steps that I do in my own personal recipe in hopes that it helps you out. On slide 39, I have the SAMR model, which is a model that is frequently used in education to determine the usefulness of technology in a lesson. But I'm going to take this a step further and show you slide 40. This is the SAMR model as I think in terms of a rich task. The first thing is, how do I do the exact same thing online? Maybe you had manipulatives in the classroom, and now we have manipulatives in the kids' hands with cereal. Maybe they are using the manipulatives or they're drawing in their notebook. And the neat thing about drawing in your notebook is how quickly you can upload that onto the screen. So right now I am going to use a stamper, which you can't see yet. There we go. I'm going to model one of these problems. And in an instant, now I'm going to take a picture of this and put it on my screen. I go to Insert Image Camera. It turns on my camera. I take a picture. And I insert it. I was moving my arm, so it's a little bit wavy. So here I can do the exact same thing I would have done in a face-to-face class and put it here. If you're not familiar with how to do that, I will screenshot the directions again and put it on that slide, because once kids can show you their notebooks, it opens up everything. So insert image and camera, we'll do that. The next thing I do is I ask myself, what are cool tips and tricks to make it a bit more efficient online? And this is the time where I start thinking about, what am I going to copy and paste, duplicate, like those pan balances, and make it so that things are more efficient. The next level up, I start to think about, could this task be better online? And what would define better? And so when I think about better online, I'm thinking of slide 32. This was pushing people into the that discomfort zone of, what do you mean I'm going to relate the boxes with the number line? That was some rigorous thinking there. And that's the flexible thinking that we want our students to get to. But this was easier online because we could put them right on top of each other. It doesn't matter how big our number line is, because I can take this number line and stretch it to be the same size as the boxes I plan to use. And then finally, the R. These are ways that you can continue to use tasks in ways that could only be done digitally. So if you have a classroom in Richmond and you have another classroom in Montgomery, you all can meet together in a shared room. You can collaborate with one another, and your students will get to break beyond the geographical boundaries. But this area usually takes a little bit more planning. I like to think about it, but I don't always go there. We have about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to ask you all a very important question that I'm sure you'll have an answer to. On slide 41 or 42, what is your biggest concerns about teaching online? Now, I'm not going to pretend I have answers to everything, but in the 10 years of experience, I've worked with a variety of grade levels. I've worked with adult learners, and I have some tips, so I'll definitely share those. Let's go ahead and type those in. Somebody mentioned too much parental interaction in K-2. This is something I can very much give you my experience on. So I'm also a Girl Scout leader. I have daisies, and they a couple of them just bridged into brownies. So that means I had kindergarten, first, and second graders. And at the very beginning, I said, we're going to be using Collaborate, which was our Zoom, and Google Slides. And I know it's going to be faster if you jump in, but we're teaching the girls to be independent. So what I ask is that even if you don't get it done, only use your words and pointing, and let the girls do all the typing and the mouse clicking, because they need to be the ones to do it in order to grow that independence. I also recognize that I had more time to teach them that, and time is of the essence right now. But in the end, I was telling the parents, if you can do that part, What I can do is make it so your kids are more independent and you won't need to be monitoring them as much. And they totally bought in at that point. In terms of students not knowing how to use the technology, this is a great question, and I have some potential solutions for you on slide 43. I frequently get the question of what if the kids don't know how to use the Google? And this is a scavenger hunt. Sometimes I give it in class. Sometimes I give just one piece at a time. Sometimes I give it as homework for them to see how much they can do. By a scavenger hunt, it implies that you don't have to do everything, but these are all the skills I want to know if they know how to do. An example of a completed one is on slide 44. But there's some really neat things available to young kids, such as voice-to-type tool. So we've got kiddos who are early in literacy, and if you want them to write out their response, they can say it in their to their computer, and it'll type it out in words. So then it becomes practicing with editing instead of finding the letter Y on the keyboard. So that's one of the things that I do when it comes to learning the tech, and then I can quickly see which kids need more, pull them in a separate breakout room, or which kids are ready to jump into it, and I can support the tech needs once I know what they are. Different types of technology across 65 elementary schools. Yeah, I bet that's a big concern. In my experience, Google Slides is a platform that works for just about everything. Because it is all cloud-based, they don't need to download anything. It can be done on Chromebooks. Sometimes if you're using a device, you will need to download the app or else it will be very clunky. Once you have the app downloaded, though, you should be able to interact with it. Even if you're not a Google division, you can still access Google Slides. You can still share them and access them. If you want additional support on that, go ahead and shoot me an email. I'd be happy to chat with you more about how you can use that along with your school division. I see a couple of those. If this was yours, the unbalance of digital and non-digital, can you tell me a little more?
Sure. Hi, my name's Mary. I'm from Virginia Beach. And I was just saying one of the concerns is, you know, when you're teaching virtually, a lot of what you're doing is digital, but we know that our youngest learners learn better when they're engaged and things are hands-on and they're doing things paper pencil. So just striking that fine balance of doing digital and non-digital activities.
I see. So there's a little protocol that I use whenever we're going to go non-digital. And what I mean by that is if I ask you all to take 5 minutes to go and find some Cheerios or Goldfish or something else to represent 2 plus 3 and to use those. How do I know that kids know my directions? How do I know when they're back? Things like that. So a protocol that I use is the raise hand when you know the directions. Once your hand is up, you may leave your computer and go get it. So you're more than welcome to try now. You can go to the little hand raise button. And that would mean like, hey, I'm ready, I'm out. I can quickly see on my computer who has their hands up. I know they're away from their computer. And I can continue to repeat the directions if need be, or support kiddos who don't have the hand up. When they come back, they lower their hand, and then I know when my class is back. So that little protocol can really help me to know where my kids are when they're not right in front of me. I noticed that there are no questions in the virtual parking lot. So I'm going to spend the next couple of minutes continuing to support your biggest concerns here. Before I do, Kristen, did you want to, on cue, did you want to talk about the certificate?
Yes, thank you. We want to acknowledge that you took your time out of your schedule to participate in this webinar. So we put a certificate of attendance into the chat box. and you should be able to download it directly from the chat. However, if you do have difficulty downloading it, feel free to email me and I can email you a copy of it. And I don't think any other questions came up through the chat, Teresa, because you do such a great job of having everybody input their questions and concerns on your slides.
So a couple of you had asked about using iPads, iPhones. So I wanted to direct you to my most frequently asked questions. Those are on slide 47. And the very last one is, what does it look like on an iPad, phone, or tablet? And the most important thing with devices is that they download the Google Slides app. Otherwise, it is so clunky. Everything gets rotated around. Things don't move easily. But once they download that, things become so much easier. Also questions about how do I get students to move between Zoom, Collaborate, Google Meets, and the slides. And there's a video there that shows students how to stagger their windows. So they don't need them to be side by side, but sometimes staggering them can make all the difference in the world. And today you also saw me use drag and drop slides and cloning objects. Those are in there as well. So if you want some quick and easy videos, I don't think anything is longer than 2 minutes. I don't have that kind of attention span. In terms of reaching all students and accountability, here, because I didn't have a roster, I pretty much told you, go to any box and type in a response. I don't typically do that with children. I'm a little bit more structured, and I can share some of that structure with you. Let's see. One of the things I do is I use color. And so if I want all my students to respond, I'll put it on slide 42. They all have a color from the very beginning of the year. And so whenever it is time to type in a box, I'll say, hey, on slide 42, find your color and estimate how many different strategies did you get today? And they would find their color. I'm bright pink, and I'm going to type in my number. So I get a little bit of accountability at the same time as having a little bit of anonymity. And if you're looking for those, I'll put it here in the chat box. And then you can see some different examples. Sometimes I'll assign those. Sometimes, they'll have a star and they have to put a star in their favorite. But by having these different colors, I know who it is, but they might not. And it also makes it so that they're not all typing in the same chat box. I can't get parents to show up for conferences. I feel you there. I don't really have too many tips there other than I wish that we could solve that one for face-to-face also. So Kristen and Tina over at VDOE, if you have any tips for that one, I know I could use a couple too.
Yeah, just that communication, phone calls, emails, trying to communicate with them in any way possible, letters.
So one tip that I do with, being in touch with the students too, is if they have the successes and celebration slides, like on 3 and 4, if I notice that 3 days in a row, I haven't heard from Kristen, I'm going to make that special connection with Kristen, and whether it's a phone call home or a phone call to parents. So even though the kids think this is all about successes and celebrations, I'm also monitoring SEL and other things here, making sure my kiddos are okay. All right, folks. It's been a pleasure. It's been an hour and a half already. I hope you had fun. I hope you grabbed a couple great ideas that you can use. I have so many more resources available on my website, so please check it out. Check out the templates. You shouldn't have to start from scratch. And if you want to continue doing rich tasks together, join me every Saturday or any Saturday you can, and we can continue to nerd out on the math.